Hey guys, what is up? Carter here. This is going to be a Emerson update video. Not my Emerson's update, but an update on some of the stuff that Emerson has been updating in his line this year. These updates are basically later half of 2012 about. Some of the earlier 2012s have a few of these features. They may have some of the older features, so on and so forth. But the really newer ones are later half of 2012 is where you'll see all of these features. So I have here a 2011. This has all the older features. This 2012 with all the newest features. And of course, don't take any of this as gospel. Emerson never makes official statements with this is what I've updated and this is why and this is what I'm going to. He kind of just does things. So some of these features may be temporary. They may go back. You know, you still may see a mix mash of older ones and new ones. I don't know. This is just what I've seen and the ones I've purchased and other people have purchased recently, some of these changes here. First off, let's talk kind of the most in-your-face one is the pivot. You can see he's moved to a wider slotted pivot, which I actually really like because I have literally used my keys and various objects to adjust the pivot on my newer Emersons, whereas the older ones with the more slotted look to it, you really need like a screwdriver. I've even got screwdrivers that won't fit in that slot, so you really need something kind of thin. I do kind of like the look of the old one. It just looks a little cleaner, whereas the newer one's kind of a little more buttony, and it's kind of got to be recessed because it's a little more bulbous. But definitely functionality-wise, great move on that. Next up is the liners. The older style, and you know, of course, Emerson's have changed many times throughout the years. So they've gone through different iterations. So this is, I'm just talking like, when I say older, I mean more recent older, not older. The last couple of years. So the older style has the thicker lock side on the titanium and then a thin stainless steel liner on the opposite side. The newest versions have double thick liners on both sides. And like I mentioned, I've got my Horseman is a 2012. It has the new pivot, but it has the thick, thin liners that the older ones have. Next up is G10. The newer ones, and this one is not super new. This is kind of older. So, I mean, you know, like I said, this didn't all happen one day. Emerson didn't say, I'm going to make all these changes this year. These have kind of trickled in. You can see the G10 difference. The older one is a much finer G10, whereas the newer ones have a much larger kind of pattern, G10 pattern. They both feel really good. I like them both. But yeah, definitely a difference there. And lastly, and probably kind of more interestingly, is the black coating finish. On the older version, and I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick up on this. It's kind of hard because it's very subtle, but the older version is a much more finer application. It looks like the actual paint, the coating, is probably thinner, and it was applied more of a misty kind of application, whereas the newer stuff is thicker, and it's more like hate to use the word globular, but it's kind of more, you can kind of see the texture on it. Yeah, there we go. Is not that kind of ultra fine type coating. And it also seems to be a little bit less matte. Like the older finish seems a little more matte, and the newer finish seems a little more semi-gloss. You can see how this one's got a kind of a finer pattern. Now this next thing I'm going to say is kind of more speculatory, but I'm thinking that the newer coating is much stronger than the older one. I had a Roadhouse with this older coating, and I remember I was doing some hard use stuff with it and putting it in the mud, and I dropped it into the grass, and I just remember the coating came off really easily. It didn't take much to get it to start to wear off. You could see the steel going through it. But with my CQC 13, which I also used very hard, and I did a video talking about it, not a scratch. And I did the same, if not worse, to it. Right into the dirt, right into the grass. I cut branches and cardboard and you know, all kinds of stuff with that knife, and none of the coating came off at all. It was still completely on there. You could see a few little, if you catch it in the light, you would see a few little scratches in the coating, but definitely didn't come off. So I'm thinking this newer coating is a much more robust coating than what was used in the past. But of course, like I said, that's just based off that one experience, so take that with a grain of salt. I could be wrong. There could have been other factors involved. Maybe it's just that knife. I'm not sure. But I'm kind of speculating that there was definitely a change to the coating, and that it was done primarily because it's a much more wear-resistant coating than the old one. All right, guys, that's it for this video. A few updates that I've noticed in recent times with Emerson knives, in case you were interested. I will catch you guys later. Obviously nothing major. This is all just little tweaks and little changes and refinements and things. So definitely nothing major involved. And I say that in case some of you are like, well, do I want to make sure I get a new version or an old version? It doesn't matter. They're all great. This is a perfect knife. I love this thing. Love this thing. Anyways, all right, guys. Talk to you later.